Hello, this is wmpyr. For today's video, I'm going to pretend like this is a stream video. I wish I could be chatting with you guys and doing this, but since YouTube and Google changed their format once again, I'm completely lost. So I apologize, and we'll just pretend for right now, okay? So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. Number one is the footwork stuff that I did not too long ago. I was comparing karate with Eskrima, and the whole point was to say that both have their pros and cons, and both were different, but I think they work very, very well together. So the whole reason why that video even came up was because I was talking to a self-defense instructor from Japan, and in Filipino martial arts, as you guys know, the footwork and the whole idea was based off of defense. So, you know, I have my bad guy right here, and I'm going to be going off on an angle. Why am I going off on an angle? So I don't go direct and meet up head to head with this person. So it is a defensive footwork that I'm using. Yes, I'm attacking, but it's more so as a counterattack. So if I have a machete like this, then, you know, I boom right here. I move off in a 45-degree angle, and I cut them on the back of the leg so that they can't pursue me. So that is the idea behind that. Now, compare that to the karate footwork, and I'm not saying all karate footwork is this way, but a good majority is about stepping in and lunging in and landing a nice, powerful shot, right? To take out the opponent, you know, one hit, one kill kind of thing. So that instructor was talking about using a collapsible baton to step in, boom, and take out the opponent, you know, with as few hits as possible, but to completely take them out, you know. So it's completely different strategy, but I think they can work very well together because they're so different. So what one lacks, the other can fill in. So that is the idea that I wanted to present to you guys. Now, one more thing is in karate and also in some kung fu styles, you see that they go into a very low stance and they fight from here, okay? So from, you know, like someone that has trained in MMA, from that kind of perspective, why would you go into a low stance like this? And I think the idea is this is good for grappling. If you stay tall like this, in your grappling situation, you can get thrown, you can get taken down, so then you're going to have to come low. That's, I think, the general idea. But I want you guys to think, this low stance could also benefit you in striking. Okay, you may not want to be like that the whole time, because if you're low like this, you have a good base, but then your mobility is bad. Okay, so please think about that. It's a sacrifice right there. However, being in a low stance like this, if you compare that to, let's say I want to hit this guy really hard, so I throw my whole body into a strike. Okay, that might be a powerful shot because I threw my whole body there. The problem is the way that I threw my whole body there, I could only do it once, right? Whereas if I'm like in a solid stance like this, if I throw a powerful shot, I can keep going because I'm in a solid base to be able to do more. But if I do something like this, I am not in a solid base to do more and more and more. I have to build up momentum. I have to catch, you know, my body and regain my balance, you know, so there's problems there. So in that sense, it's beneficial to have a low stance. And if you watch, there are some boxers, there are some kickboxers and MMA fighters. You'll notice some of them have a wider stance than normal. And chances are those guys that have a wider stance than normal, I bet you money that they hit harder than normal, okay? And that's what I'm talking about here. Now, another thing also is this. If I want to hit this thing hard, right, and if my body's right here, and I'm pretty upright like this, and I go in to hit, right, versus if I'm like this in a low stance, the amount of energy it takes to, now I have a spring motion, and then going from all the way here to here takes a lot more force for me to move. So I'm building a lot more momentum to hit. So that could definitely increase power. So please think about that too. So I think that'll go very well with Eskrima. How? Well, the up-down motion works extremely well because when we want to hit hard in Filipino martial arts, rather than going back to front, it's up to down, okay? And all summer long this year, I've been working hard in the yard, and I'm still working right now, but one of the things that I discovered was when I have, you know, some, like a small tree that I need to cut down and stuff, when I'm doing that, I notice that when I need the power, my arm starts getting higher and higher because I'm using the weight of the machete, the weight to drop it down. So the higher, the more power I get. So I'm pulling using the weight, and so I'm coming from way up here to cut down. So that definitely helped me understand, you know, this up-down motion, which I have been saying to you guys, you know, let's focus on the up-down motion for power rather than the back-front motion, which everybody does, right? So, and this also explains that you may have seen some Filipino martial arts experts, when they strike, they got moves like this, where they come from way up here, like this, and they bring it, boom, like this, boom. I don't know if you guys can see the shadow. I'm sorry you can't see. The camera cuts off like right here, but if you look at the shadow here, maybe you can see the stick is circling above up there. Boom. So I'm doing that. Come up here, like this. Okay. Now, another thing I've been working on is grip management, right? And to really improve my grip, I've been working with this guy. It is a skeletonized knife. So this is not a training knife, it's an actual knife, live blade. But then it had parachute cord, I took it off. So now when I hold it, man, it digs in, it hurts, okay? So that means I got to extra work on the grip and get it just right. Because if not, if I hold this incorrectly, it really hurts. So, you know, that has been a challenge, and it's been very fun actually. So I've been working on that. Another thing I need to mention is, oh yeah, in closing here, this is the last thing I want to cover, is that one of my most watched videos on YouTube is actually a video response to Mr. Sakan Lam, who is also on YouTube, and he is a martial arts instructor in Thailand. So please check him out. The guy's very, very talented martial arts teacher, competitor, and yeah, just martial artist in general. Very good guy, very nice guy. So anyway, check him out, tell him I sent you. And so the video response was a tornado spin technique that apparently he showed. I don't remember the video anymore, but yeah, so the technique goes something like this: 1 and 2, 1 and 2. That is the base right there, okay? So someone asked, could you show that full speed? Well, it's pretty much when someone's attacking me, boom, you know, that's the idea right there, boom. It's probably, that's about as fast as I would go, like this, like that. So, So against an object like that, all right? So boom, boom, boom. So, okay, that's the idea right there. Now, I showed more complex stuff. More complex stuff. It's basically Heaven 6 stuff. So it's arm weaving. This is called arm weaving. That's the general category. And Heaven 6 is one technique out of arm weaving. And there's honestly an infinite number of techniques that you could derive, create, and work on. And in the video, there's probably tons of videos that I made where I'm doing that, okay? I want you guys to know that's just part of the process of training, where you get something, you learn the Heaven 6, go with the Heaven 6, that's the most basic. Learn that one. I first learned Heaven and Earth, and I felt like Heaven and Earth is a little bit more practical. Might be so. Learn Heaven 6 first. I recommend that. Now, after having done both and spending a lot of time with both, Heaven 6 is great because the body mechanics is, I think, unbeatable. It's the most important core body mechanic motion in arm weaving, in my opinion. So I would say go with the Heaven 6. That figure 8 motion that it turns into, you just can't beat that. Okay, most efficient, most effective. So that being said, though, to truly understand the Heaven 6, to truly understand arm weaving, and also this is what Bruce Lee said something along the lines of, if you fight using a pattern, the same pattern again and again and again, they're going to figure you out. So, you know, you want to be formless, right? And I absolutely agree. However, I think it's important that you start with a form, okay? And then you make it into a bunch of forms, and then you get to the point where you don't have a form. So you don't start off with zero form, you know, maybe when you're born, but then when you have to learn. So you learn the forms, and then you go into variations, and the variations, like I said, are infinite. And then at some point, you know, those don't become that important. And then, because it's about quality over quantity. So I hope this, you know, makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask me, okay? And I'll try to explain it to you as best as I can. But this is just, what I'm trying to explain is your training process, okay? So you learn something like the Heaven 6, boom, 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 like so, right? So then we're gonna go into variations. So I might stab for my number 1, and then the rest is still the same. And number 1 is a stab, and the rest is the same. Stab, the rest is the same. Or I might change to where number 1, number 2, and number 3 is a stab, and, you know, go back, boom, go back, you know. So you could substitute, you know, any techniques in there, boom, 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 right here, boom, 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 backhand in there, backhand in there, you know. So you can change it up in so many different ways, okay? Like I said, an infinite number of ways. And for a while there, you know, it's just part of the training. You're going to start to catalog it, okay? Because you know, you want to see how many of those you can uncover, how many of those you could discover, play around with, and that's all part of the skill development, okay? So you do that, and then it gets to the point where you realize that there's really an infinite number that you can do, and it's not that important, actually. To discover every single one of them is not important, okay? And from there, now you go back to less, and you start working on quality. So the quality can mean different things for different people, and that's why it's a martial art. So maybe for you, it's like, you know, I learned it from the sticks, but now I just want to do it with a karambit, you know? Or I want to do it with a knife in the reverse grip. Or, you know, I want to do it empty hand. I want to get that down, and I want to be able to do that against a boxer or whatever. You know, it just might depend on you. It depends on what your goals are, and that can also change. So, you know, what your goal is today, 2 years from now, can be totally different. So, you know, just keep all that in mind. and you just walk the path and you keep developing your art. And that's what's important, okay? So you got to go for quality, okay? And then so for me, I was doing this kind of stuff right here, and then I started going into, you know, variations, boom, 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 and you know, this kind of stuff. Like when I do this, I'm free flowing every time. So I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm using pattern number 8 and then the variation number 6, and I'm not thinking like that. It's just whatever comes to mind, whatever, you know, bam, okay, so like so, you know, I can't tell you what I did the first time, what I did the second time. I can't tell you exactly because I'm not really thinking like that, you know. And if I don't know what I did, then hopefully my opponent won't know either, you know, because I'm not doing a pattern again and again and again. The base is from the Heaven 6, that without a doubt, you know, that is the base. But I'm putting in enough variations in there, hopefully, that it's not too predictable, all right? And the Heaven 6 itself, you know, it can look quite confusing as well. There's 6 movements in there, you know, 3 on the right side and 3 on the left side. But yeah, it could be quite confusing enough to do something like this. And then, like I said, I'm putting in variations. So, you know, that's the idea right there. Okay. Last but not least is the training. You know, do you need to have something like this, you know, that you guys see me doing, you know, training, this kind of stuff. And also stickman over here, you know. Is this necessary? For a beginner, I don't think so. I don't think so. For a beginner, you want to focus on just doing it in the air, learning the moves and getting the repetitions down and get your technique down. And then, you know, you can work your way to stuff like this. You know, there's so many different directions to go, you know, that I'm not saying don't do it, because it can help for sure, you know, but yeah, I don't think you absolutely need to have this. I didn't even start working with stuff like this, you know, where I'm making hard contact. I didn't even start doing it till like, yeah, probably 10, 15 years ago, you know. So if I've been training for over 20 years, 25 years or something like that, yeah, I didn't even start doing that till like, so the first 10 years was mostly just in the air, doing it over and over and over and over. And also at that time, I was training in other martial arts styles as well. So as much as I liked and enjoyed Filipino martial arts, it wasn't the only thing I was doing. But then afterwards, especially now, it's the main thing. It's become absolutely a total joy. And then now, including yard work and stuff, to me, it's almost become like, you know, this is pretty much the way to go, because I could do this for the rest of my life. You know, yard work, you know, unless I plan to live like in an apartment or, you know, something like that, then where I don't have a yard. But right now I do have a yard, and yeah, so it does need to be taken care of. So that's all just you know, it's something that I get to do, and I do enjoy it. So anyway, that's I think a good place to end this video. I'm sorry it was kind of all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.